And here we are. We're going to actually use the components of the kit that you're going to get when you get the Springtac Holster TC. That's a total custom. What's going to come in the kit? You're going to get a bag, rubber bands, gobbers, dye, finish, belt clip. So now we're going to make one of these custom. Now you're going to have to provide your own container and your own water. I know it goes without saying, but somebody out there is going to send me an email saying I didn't get a container or water. We don't provide that. You have to do it yourself. Alright, so what you're going to do is you're going to fill your container and you're going to take your holster, which is going to come like this. Just kind of fit it. If it needs to be tighter, squeeze it. If it needs to be looser. But this is just preliminary. You just want to make sure that the basic idea is going to be there. Okay? Now what you're going to do is you're going to take your holster and you're going to submerge it. It really doesn't matter if you saturate it or if you just barely get it wet enough to where it's pliable. The only difference that's going to make is how long it takes to dry, which really you're going to want to give this a day regardless before you do anything else. So you're going to get this nice and wet. Now there's a process working with leather, it's called casing, and that's exactly what they do. They take a dry piece of leather, they get it wet, and that allows them to form it. And these holsters that you see that are formed exactly to a weapon, that's exactly what they do. They get the leather wet, they case it, they form it, and then they let it dry, and it retains the shape. It has a memory. So actually what you're really doing is casing your leather. Now when you're working with leather, sometimes you'll do this, you'll put it in a refrigerator for about 24 hours. And then you can actually start carving on it and doing all kinds of things with it. But leather becomes pretty pliable when it's wet, at least unfinished leather. So you're just going to want to make sure that it's pliable. It's not a real critical issue that you let it dry. Now when you do this, seriously, you want that leather to absorb as much moisture as you can. That makes it more pliable and it's going to give it better memory in the end. So after you've done this a couple minutes, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to set this aside. And you're not going to let it dry, but you're going to let that water absorb into all the pores and all the layers of the leather. And usually that process, I'll leave that set for, oh, I don't know, half hour before I start monking with it. So while that's setting, we're going to go on to the next step, which is we're going to get the weapon ready. Now, we mentioned before it should be unloaded. Let's not get redundant. It should be an unloaded weapon, clip out, you know, all that. We don't want to get back into that. So anyway, you're going to put your weapon, and it doesn't matter which one you're going to do. It's just whatever weapon you're going to carry. If you're going to carry a 1911, that's okay. If you're going to carry a Glock, that's okay. And just because you fit it to a specific weapon doesn't necessarily mean that you're limited to that weapon. The holster will do what it's supposed to do with various weapons in the same category. Now, there are certain things the holster won't do, and that is fit something it's not designed to fit. We have people who are insisting that this holster is going to fit a specific weapon, and it doesn't. And then they whine and cry and give us bad reviews. If you have any doubt about whether a certain holster is going to work for your weapon, drop us an email, give us a call. I mean, this idea works for hundreds and hundreds of people, and there's a half a dozen people that you really got to question whether they should be carrying a weapon or not. Anyway, so now there's no shine on this, which means the water has absorbed into the leather. If it's still shiny, it's a little too wet. Doesn't matter for anything other than handling. But you can feel, if you get sidetracked, it's no big deal. Come back tomorrow, just start the process over again. If it takes you an hour to get back to it, 2 hours, you may want to dip it again. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to. It's nothing permanent yet. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your bagged weapon, your unloaded bagged weapon, you're going to put it in a holster, and you're going to seat it about where you think you want to carry it. Now I like mine just to clear the top, the bottom on a 3-inch holster for a 3-inch barrel. It works out just perfectly. And now all you're going to do is just kind of squeeze it a little bit, knead it, manipulate it a little bit. And what you're trying to do, more importantly, is you're trying to get the inside to remember what your weapon feels like. The outside's always going to pretty much look the same, but it's the inside that you're obviously going to worry about. That's the part that's going to carry your weapon. So seat it the way you want it, and then apply your rubber bands. There's 3 in the kit, that's more than enough. Now, at this point, you could very well just leave it alone. Yeah, right, none of us are going to do that. We're going to sit there and we're going to play with it, we're going to squeeze it. This is the time to make sure that it's going to look and feel the way you want it to. Don't worry about the inside. That's going to take care of itself. I may put it in and out a couple times, just to make sure that if there's any levers, some of them put some pretty big levers and buttons on the side. You're going to want to groove that leather while it's wet, because it's more pliable and it's more liable to remember where those different levers and buttons and decockers and all that other junk is. Okay, so now you've got that in there. You can move these rubber bands around. If you get a bulge, just move it around, play with it, and then just leave it set. Now, I would normally leave this set for about, about a half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour. You can leave it all night, it doesn't matter, but generally what I like to do is after it's set for a while, is I'm going to take the weapon out of the holster, leaving the rubber bands. I'm going to take the weapon out of the holster, and that is only to facilitate drying. When you get air all the way around it, obviously it's going to dry a little bit faster and more thorough. Now, let me point out at this point here, you can't rush this process, man. This is going to take you a good day. Breaking in your holster without this process is going to take you days, months, weeks. It's going to take a long time. This is going to form fit to your specific holster, and it's going to be fit a lot quicker, but it's not going to be a 20-minute process. This is going to take a day, maybe 2, for you to really do that, and that's only because you're working with a wet piece of leather. And if you were to stain this now, even though it's a water-based dye, it's probably going to be a less than satisfactory result. Now, the other reason you want to do this is if for some reason this dries and something has changed, it fell down, somebody stepped on it, whatever it happened, you can repeat the process and start all over again and end up with a good product. Once you start staining and sealing this, it becomes a lot less likely to be able to be manipulated. It is still possible, but it's a lot less fun. So anyway, what I'll do is I'll let that set for a good 24 hours at least. So now what we're going to do is, because we're going to speed up this process, we've got that holster. So 24 hours later, what you've got is this you got a dry holster. Now at this point, obviously by now you've probably taken the gun out of the bag. Might not hurt you to wipe it down, put a little oil on it, just in case you got a little moisture in it. You take care of your own gun. So what you're going to do now is you're going to see and make sure that it's still as you want. Now you may still have to tighten it. You may even have the springs inside this. What makes the Springtac holsters are extremely durable. They're stainless steel. You're not going to break them. You have the ability to loosen it. You have the ability to tighten it. Now remember, this is nothing more than a holster that is going to carry this weapon and protect it from damage and allow you to carry a laser-sighted weapon. You want to make sure that this is always worn inside the pants or under the belt. this open bottom design, this is what allows us to carry various weapons and various lights. There's no rules. I mean, there's some pretty barbaric stuff out there. We can't fix everything. But come on, this is a common sense carry weapon. It's small, it's light, it's got a small laser sight, trims and trace. You know, it's a good weapon that I can carry every day. I don't necessarily think I'm going to carry a very large weapon with a very large tack light or laser light. So common sense dictates whether or not you're going to be happy with this product. So anyway, that to me is fitting pretty good. It's holding up. Remember, you can do this. Yes, you can. That's why you wear it under the belt. Once you do that, you're pulling it in, you're putting it out. It's not collapsing. It's doing everything that you want a holster to do. It won't fall through. It won't fall out. I've carried this for 3.5, 4 years. I've never had a weapon accidentally drop, come out, sag, or anything, and neither have hundreds and hundreds of people. Okay, so now you've got pretty much the finished product. It's fitting the weapon that I want. Now again, remember I told you, it's not limited to that. Obviously it's a 5-inch barrel, but 3-inch holster. But you can do with some minor adjustments. 1911s are pretty thin. You have to squeeze that down a little bit more. But it's all good. It's basically formed and fitted to the one that you're going to carry. That's it, plain and simple. So now what we're going to do with the materials that were provided, we're going to start the process of finishing this. Now you're going to want to do this on a surface that is dispensable, something that you can throw away. Nobody's going to yell at you if you get splash over there. Don't do this on a dining room table. Mama will be very unhappy with you. Well, what I'm going to do, I'm not going to open this. I'm going to go get a quantity of black dye. We're going to start the process there. So hang on just a minute.